Considered the greatest violins ever made, Stradivarius violins have been handcrafted by master luthier Antonio Stradivari. Stradivari designed and crafted more than 1,000 violins and instruments during his lifetime, nearly 650 of which still exist today. These violins and instruments are considered the finest ever made and continue to be a standard in form, sound, and beauty. What do you mean it's not the violin? But that's what it... Oh. The Stradavar, it's a high capacity, high damage weapon, at least the description says that. And for a weapon that needs mastery rank 8 and way too much stuff to build, it's incredibly weak. As far as its looks go, its design resembles the Russian DP-28 but in Tenno style. It deals mainly a low amount of puncture damage, has an almost non-existent status chance, and a crit rate you cannot do anything with. And from my short experience with this weapon so far, a crit build seems to be the most viable, for reasons I'll talk about later. And no, I did not put any formas into it, nor am I planning to, because quite frankly it doesn't deserve it. Unless of course it gets buffed later down the line. The Stradavar's main big thing is the alt fire that switches it from being full auto to semi-auto. And you might be asking, what's the point if you can just click once and do the same thing without having to use the alt fire? And you would be entirely correct, except that if you're using it in semi-auto mode, its base crit chance gets bumped up to 20%, which is a lot more viable. Of course, this information is displayed nowhere inside the actual game, you have to go digging in the wiki for that. Sure, it might help your fire rate, but it's not exactly a big sacrifice to make for double the crit chance. Of course, this means that you're better off using it in just semi-auto mode all the time instead of full auto, which kind of does go against the weapon's nature. It's supposed to be an LMG. But even if you are using it in that mode, it doesn't make that much of a difference, it's still got awful damage. And sure, it might be mitigated by a couple formas, but that still doesn't justify the build costs and the master rank requirements. And those are the two reasons why the Stradavar is not a weapon for new players. The MR8 requirement makes absolutely no sense. And just for comparison's sake, here's a few other weapons that unlocked earlier. Optical, Soma Prime, master rank 6. Amprex, Tonkor, master rank 5. Hell, the Portal Prime still only requires master rank 2 to unlock. I can't even say it's a fun weapon to use. In conclusion, Mastery Fodder out of 10. No strings attached.